My name is Steve LaFreniere. I'm the chef assistant manager here at the Meldrum Soup Kitchen. I'm a graduate of Jefferson House, which is a recovery house for men, which is resourced by the Capuchins. I'm a recovering alcoholic and drug addict. I have been in recovery for 16 years this October. It's sort of like one day I stopped to party with some friends and I had never drank before. Before that I was an A student. I was on the swim team, I was lettered, and then there was this group of guys and I decided I was going to hang out with them that night, and we went up to the store and got somebody to buy for us, and so I ended up getting really wasted, and everybody the next day told me how funny I was, and so it just, from there it just snowballed. I had a really good job down at the Renaissance Center. I was managing 2 restaurants. I would leave at lunch and I would go to the bar across the street and drink my lunch and then come back and then get off work at 3 o'clock and go over to the bar over, in the Renaissance Center and drink till 5, 6 o'clock and then take a cab home. Well, one day I went across the street to the bar to drink my lunch, and I had some cocaine, and I went in the bathroom and did a line and went back out, finished my drink, and went back to work. And when I got back to work, I realized that I forgot my cocaine. So I went back across the street to the bar, and it was gone. And I burst out crying. I was just, because it was gone, and I didn't have no money or anything else. And I realized right then and there that I had a really big problem. Sacred Heart was right down Elizabeth Street. So I walked right, it was like an 8-block walk from where I was at. So I walked into the treatment center and admitted myself and just called my boss and told him that I wouldn't be back to work. One day my dad came to pick me up my brother was in town from California, and I hadn't seen my brother in 7 years. And my dad came to pick me up for his family reunion party. And I had already drank a whole fifth of vodka. And this was like 11 o'clock in the afternoon. And my dad took one look at me and he said, "Not today, you're not going to embarrass me today." And he drove off and he left me standing on the curb. I called him the next day and I told him, that I would come live with them, I would dry out, and I would get into treatment, and they agreed to that, and they let me come live with them. One day, my stepmother came home and I was passed out on the couch, and my little brother was with her. And she said, "Oh, Steve's sick." And my brother said, "He's not sick, he's drunk. He's passed out." It was the next day I went into treatment. My dad drove me downtown to Mariners Inn, which is on Cass Corridor. It was the only treatment center that would take me. And I was standing in line, shaking, from withdrawal, and shaking because I was so scared. And this big guy walked up behind me and he put his arm around me and he goes, "It's going to be all right, buddy, it's going to be all right." And I just sort of knew that it was. I was really lucky. I got a really good counselor. The way he opened my eyes was he grabbed me by my shirt and threw me up against the wall, and he said, "Who the F do you think you are?" He said, "Do you know how many nights your mother has stayed up worrying about you, or your father's not been able to sleep worrying about whether or not you ate today?" Before that, I had always thought it was about me. I figured that if I was drinking, they should help me, and if I was sober, they should support me and pat me on the back. I never thought about them and how it affected them. So that was like the first window that opened for me to want to stay sober. I was at a meeting one night, and one of the guys there was talking about Jefferson House. He was in Jefferson House and what great meals they had and what a great program it was. So I went back to Mariners, and the next day I asked my counselor if he could get me into Jefferson House. But at the time that I was there was this great lady, Sue Lane, who basically ran the house, who was like the house director. And she was like a mother, and I don't know how, but she changed my life. I tell you, I don't know how she did it, but she became like mother, counselor, best friend, confident. I don't know. I finally, I guess, I learned that I was lovable. Not that I didn't, I guess, but that I was a good person, and I had a lot of good things in me. So it gave me a reason to want to stay sober. And I started building a relationship with my family again. So, while I was there, chef at the monastery went on vacation, and they needed a replacement for her while she was on vacation. So they sent me over there to work for 2 weeks. I would go over and cook meals and then come home at the end of the day. And I just fell in love with the kitchen over there, and the brothers and the priest and everybody. I always had a love for food. I've always, enjoyed cooking. Most people, when they get sober, food becomes very important because it sort of becomes a replacement for the alcohol. But the good thing about treatment centers or most facilities is, they try to give you balanced meals and teach you how to eat balanced meals. There's this thing in AA, it's called HALT, hungry, angry, lonely, tired. You try to make sure that you eat right, and be balanced. But like I told you at the beginning, that was one of my first reasons for going to Jefferson House, was the guy was telling me how good the meals were. And so I had to go check it out. But, and that's one of the reasons, for me, it's sort of the opposite side of the scope for me. That's one of the reasons that I fell in love with cooking, was being able to fix a good meal and give it to somebody and get the satisfaction of watching them enjoy it. But I still, for myself, I cook here all day, and then I live alone, I go home and I cook myself a full meal. It's nothing for me to go home and fix stuffed pork chops with scalloped potatoes and green beans and a salad, just for one person. The Capuchins have taught me so much. I owe my life to them for all that they've done for me. Truly, I do the work, I do the footwork, I go to meetings, I'm very involved in my home group, my AA home group. I'm very involved in, we have, like tonight I have a meeting, we have a spiritual conference that we do every year, and I'm head of housing and registration for that. I stay very involved in my recovery, and I've been sober for 16 years now, and I still make 2 to 3 meetings a week. I always say at the tables, if you'd have told me at the beginning of this how much work it was to stay sober, I would have run screaming from the building. but I wouldn't give it up for anything. Life is pretty good right now. So basically my goal in life now is just to continue to be the person that I am and try to, help others in any way that I can.